Hello and welcome to Power to the People with me, Graeme Pryce. Just a quick one today. I've noticed a story that immediately stood out to me because it reminded me of a video I made some time ago. That time it was the actions of a blatantly dishonest Tory MP that had piqued my interest. But the latest dishonest, deceptive and divisive dickhead is a Reform mayor. I bet that comes as a huge shock. I'll explain what I'm on about and what the similarities are right after this. 'Tis Power to the People with Graeme Pryce, where sometimes he's naughty or nice. If you like the vibe, hit like and subscribe. But don't hit the like button twice. Thank you. This is Steve Tuckwell. He well took the piss when he managed to save Ballbag Johnson's old constituency of South Uxbridge and Ruislip from falling to Labour by a very narrow margin, mostly by telling lies about the ULEZ expansion plan in London and personally attacking Sadiq Khan at every opportunity. He knew he'd only just scraped through to achieve his vile victory though, and he immediately set about trying to consolidate his hold on the area by concocting a fake campaign to get a new fish and chip shop opened. It was noted at the time that this was an exceedingly strange thing for a wealthy Tory MP who'd just been elected to be committing his time to, for at least two reasons. One being that there's already two fish and chip shops in the area. They ain't short of a bit of deep fried haddock in South Uxbridge and Ruislip, and the public weren't exactly crying out for another one. Another reason is because I find it incredibly unlikely that Steve had any intention of mixing with the great unwashed and ever visiting a fish and chip shop anyway. Well, not unless it had a Michelin star. But he wandered the streets handing out his leaflets and taking the details of anybody who didn't take one look at his blue Tory rosette and tell him to fuck off. He was fighting their corner and addressing their desperate need for more choice in their fried cod and spuds habits. Maybe with some mushy peas. Not a pickled egg though. The thing is, he'd included some interesting small print in his petition. You see, by signing it, you were giving him and the Conservative Party permission to inform you by post or email of future campaigns. Or in other words, bombard you with pathetically dishonest propaganda from a party that knew it was on its last legs and was trying any old trick in the book. They were desperate to find new ways to get their lies about Labour, lies about immigration, lies about the ULEZ expansion plan and lies about Sadiq Khan through your letterbox. He made no effort whatsoever to follow through with his petition. Of course he didn't, because he didn't give a shite about fish and chip shops. He was just trying to fool people into giving him their personal data so he could get their addresses. Shortly after his campaign, the general election was called and he completely stopped even mentioning it then, never followed through with it whatsoever. But sure enough, every person that had signed it was bombarded with right-wing propaganda from the Tories almost daily right throughout the general election campaign. Didn't work though. He failed to get elected and Labour's Danny Beales took the seat from him in 2024. This is Luke Campbell, Reform UK Mayor of Hull and East Yorkshire. He was entirely new to politics when he got elected, having had a successful career as a boxer and freely admitting he had never voted before in his life. He had met Nigel Farage though and said he'd been following Nigel for a while and everything he said seemed like common sense. I'm not going to judge him too harshly for that, because I suppose if you've been getting punched in the head for a living for many years, some very strange things might seem like common sense to you. Like voting Reform or liking Nigel Farage. Well, it seems Mr. Campbell has taken a leaf out of Steve Fuckwell's book, and he recently announced a £1 million community fund and asked local residents to submit suggestions for how it should be spent. There are a couple of problems with his proposal, though. Unfortunately for Mr. Campbell, there are still some actual decent people on Hull and East Yorkshire's council, and one of them is Liberal Democrat councillor Tom Astle. He's quite disturbed by the fact that Luke has put out this statement, because he's not aware that any such fund is being granted, and he's also said that any funding of over £250,000 has to be cleared by the council and the combined authority. I stated on Twitter, residents are being invited to pitch ideas for a fund that simply doesn't exist while handing their data to a political party. This is a serious breach of trust, public branding on a party data collection exercise, a non-existent fund. Residents deserve honesty. Well, they won't get it from Reform UK, will they? You see, it isn't possible to engage with Mr. Campbell's fake campaign without giving him quite a lot of your personal data. But Graeme, he's the mayor. He represents the area. He's doing his best for East Hull and Yorkshire. Vote Reform. No, he isn't. He's doing his best for himself and his fascist mates in Reform UK. The data you're giving him isn't adequately protected, for one thing, but it also doesn't go to the council. It goes straight to Reform UK's headquarters, completely bypasses the council. He's not trying to help the local area with a community fund. He's data harvesting. He's trying to increase the amount of people that Reform UK can bombard with propaganda and lies at every opportunity for the next 4 years. He's hoping he's going to convince enough angry people, stupid people, racist people and seriously misinformed people to vote against their own interests and make Hull and East Yorkshire the next council to fall under the disastrous and disgusting remit of Reform UK. What a fucking shocker, eh? Thank you for watching if you've gotten this far. Another refucker turned out to be a complete and total liar with a deceptive and deceitful agenda, eh? Are you surprised? Because I'm certainly not. So far we've seen councillors dropping like flies. Absolutely pathetic attempts to copy Trumpism, because it all looks so great and rosy in America under Trump, doesn't it? And every Reform MP, councillor, idiot, whatever, that was elected in May has spent over 3 months crying about flags, whinging about hotels, trying to attack various minorities, depending on who Trump is telling everybody to hate on any given day, and telling blatant lies about their own constituencies. And they call us snowflakes. The battle against bullshit is becoming brutally important, and if you'd like to contribute to my efforts, you can find the links to PayPal, Patreon, and the Buy Me a Coffee page, secretly harvesting data, in the descriptions box. And the join button for memberships is, as always, below. Now that isn't all I have to say about Reform UK, anyway. But it is as much of what I've got to say as I'm going to say today. Ta-ra-la. I suppose if you've been getting punched in the head for years for a living, some very strange things and some very strange people might seem to make common sense. Like, oh God, I've clocked that. I've clocked it up. I can't even say I've clocked it up properly now. Good Lord, Andog. What the...